Hello and welcome to Audible Anomaly, the podcast where we foster deep and meaningful conversation to help get you through your darkest days. I'm Josh, and in today's episode, we are talking all about our life goals. That is right, we are talking about our short-term goals, our mid-term goals, our long-term goals, and touching a bit more about why it's important to have some goals, and pretty much everything goal-related. By the end of this, you might be tired of hearing the word goal. That's probably possible. But as you can see, not alone. I have some awesome friends here that want to share their goals with you. How many times can I get goals into a sentence? We're going to find out today. But anyway, Davey, how are you? How was your week?
My week was okay. It was my first full week back at work. Got my full-time hours back, which is always promising. Means more money, more work to do. Yesterday was really a really good day for me. I feel like it was just a smooth day at work. Everyone was in a really good mood. They did a little cookout at work. One of the ladies who worked there, she cooks, honest to God, some of the best carne asada I've ever had. It's so good. And it was pretty much this moment where they invited the whole company to come from all the different buildings and stuff to come and eat. But there was so much food. I got like 3 plates of just meat. It was so wonderful. And then we had some alcohol at work. Because, it's still kind of like younger company, a smaller company. So it's kind of one of those things that's allowed. And everyone just was in a good mood. And for me, it was like this great cap for a week to feel like, oh, we can kind of just relax, get work done at this last day of the week at our own pace. I don't know. It really set my weekend off right.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know we've done that cookout before when I worked there.
Mm-hmm.
And it is some of the good stuff. Did they have the chorizo again?
They did, yes. I know.
That chorizo is so good.
So good.
So good. But that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad it was a good work week. I know I know you were tired last week.
Yes.
From going the full week again, but seems like you're doing a lot better and you're a lot more awake for sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Kevin, let's hear about your week. How was your week?
My week was pretty humdrum, man. Nothing special going on. Oh, well, okay. So there is one thing. My roommate's got a puppy, so that's been very playful. Yes. Yeah, this tiny little pug.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it, though.
Nice. That's awesome.
How about you, Josh? How was your week?
Yeah, my week was fairly low key. I ended up getting the second dose of the vaccine on Thursday.
Congrats.
And thank you, I think. That knocked me out for a bit. I'm still kind of out of it, but I think that's just from like sleep deprivation more than anything. But it hits hard, but it's better than the alternative, I think.
Yeah,
definitely.
Not much.
Agreed.
That much is true, but yeah, I mean, other than that, pretty low key week. Didn't really do much. I kind of I think it was like Monday through Wednesday. I'm just like, I'm doing everything I need to do for the rest of the week. Like I'm finishing it now just so I don't have to do anything on this, like the tail end. Cause I'm like, I knew I was going to be out for at least a day or two. I was kind of preparing for it. So that's pretty much it though. Not really much else. But yeah, I mean, I think that's gonna kind of wrap it up for a little intro section here. Let's move on. Talking about life goals. I know it's like I said, we're gonna say that word a lot coming up here, but it's one of those where we tend to kind of sometimes forget about setting goals for ourselves, and it really at least I feel it sets the tone for like what you want to achieve in life. So before we go ahead and share some of our goals, I thought, why not kind of let's dissect this a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about like what the importance setting goals, and I have a couple of questions here that I thought we can kind of just converse and kind of go through and really set the stage for for having us share our goals. How does that sound?
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me.
Awesome. So we'll get started with our first question. This question kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, is why is it important to have life goals? I'm not sure who wants to take the reins first.
I'll start, and I'll come from a different angle here. I personally have never really been a big goals person, or at least definitive goals. I think it's important for some people to have life goals because it creates a structure in their life. It helps people follow a train track and realize a place to be in life so that life isn't bad now, right? They want to kind of project themselves into the future versus what they are now. And for me, I think that's a slippery slope. I think it's important to have those life goals as long as you can see it properly. As long as you don't see it as tomorrow's a better day, I have to get to tomorrow, versus, okay, today's an okay day. Like, I have to realize that my life now is important and meaningful and works to make it to tomorrow. I don't know. I feel like some people get too lost in their goals in the future, and you really need to realize that today is important too. So I'm kind of on this weird angle of like, life goals are great, yes, but are they the most important thing? Maybe not.
Right. When I was going through a bunch of stuff in high school, going through therapy and all that stuff, one of the things that my therapist ended up saying, and something that really stuck with me ever since then, was think of life as a triangle. On one edge, we have where we see ourselves. On one edge is how others see us, and the other edge is where we want to be. And the way it was kind of explained to me is yes, these are three parts that are kind of important, but we tend to always fixate on one of those three parts, whereas we need to hover somewhere in the middle, right? And in terms of life goals, I think they're pretty darn important, only because the way I see it is, when I make a life goal, I want it to be some sort of change that I want to see within myself, and by setting these goals, what I'm able to do is, okay, how can I incrementally get toward that place where I want to be, right? So it's this constant evaluation of where I am, where I'm going, and to a lesser extent, where people see me, right? That's kind of how I see it, and why I think, at least, they're fairly important to at least set up. But again, like you mentioned, it's very easy to fixate ourselves and to see ourselves just, I didn't do this certain thing that would have gotten me that. And it's very easy to get caught up in the minutia of it, for sure. Like, that is very much a danger almost of setting the goals potentially out of reach sometimes.
Yeah, I'm with you there. You definitely have to set your goals appropriately. But like Davey, I'm not much of a life goal person, though I do recognize they are important, just so that you have a direction in life, sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think we can get caught in like just falling into like this habitual kind of life of just, I'm living to live, not really toward a purpose or anything. And I found myself so much kind of getting caught up in that, which is why at least I utilize life goals to try and step out of that comfort zone a little bit and kind of move away from literally just repeating the same thing over and over, day in, day out.
See, I had the opposite problem. Is I have spent so much of my life thinking, oh, when I become an adult, my life is going to be so much better. Oh, when I move out, my life is going to be so much better. Oh, when I get this and this, and a year from now, my life is going to be so much better. And Oh man, it got me nowhere. I totally forgot of what I need to do today to get to tomorrow, and I don't know. I got caught up in those like this is where I need to be in a year, and never focused on how I need to get there.
Right.
So I ended up doing the same thing day after day because I wasn't ever thinking about what I need to do today. I was only thinking about where I'm going to be in a year from now.
Right. And especially when it comes to like, oh, my life's going to be better in a year. I don't necessarily think that's true. I think your life is good now. The only difference that maybe a year is going to have is that you're going to have different challenges. Because let's be honest, life is almost a never ending challenge. It's not a bad thing. It gives you something to overcome and something to work on, you know? It's just, you know, one day you're worrying about what grade you're going to get in physics in high school, and the next is like, how the heck am I going to pay for rent? Like, it's just, it shifts what your challenges become, you know?
Right.
But, yeah, that's, some good stuff. I got another one here, kind of coming back to that notion of, you know, setting up your goals. When you were going through and kind of setting up your life goals, I mean, obviously, to an extent, you did it for the episode, but what was kind of your process for, you know, coming up with your life goals, and, you know, how do you plan to kind of keep tabs of them and track them?
I'll jump in here. So my dad is very much a goal-oriented person, and he hammered into me the SMART goal system. So your goals should be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. So that's something that I try to keep in mind. It has to be something really specific, not like I'm going to have a better year next year, which is a good thing to have as a goal, but not really a realistic one. Measurable. So you say, well, instead of maybe like a better year, we say going to make more money at work, or better grades, go from like B's to A's, C's to B's, maybe. Attainable. So you're not like, well, I'm a D student now, but next year I'm going to be an A student. Relevant. If you're a student, grades are probably the biggest thing. Working life, it's probably around your career. And time-based, you have to have a finite time on it. So one of my goals is, sorry to jump ahead here, to pass a specific certification exam. I want to do that by the end of the year. Passing is a specific and measurable, and it's relevant to my career. So that's sort of what I look for in a goal.
I love that you literally set SMART up and I didn't have to say it, because I was literally going to mention it if no one else did.
Oh yeah.
It's, you see it everywhere, honestly. You're like, oh, how do I set up life goals? And it's the first thing you see. And at times it is a little cringy. I've had it drilled into me like 5 different ways along like just my professional and, you know, studious career. And it very much is like, okay, I get it. It's just so repetitive, but when you take a step back, there's a reason why they keep drilling that into your heads. It's a very good way to make sure that you're able to achieve your goals and set them correctly, and set those expectations accordingly. You know, so kind of one of the ways that at least I've always done it is I look at, okay, like you mentioned, I want next year to be a better year, and then going through each and every single bullet point and then start fine-tuning it and making it a little bit better. Yes, some goals might only cover a handful of them, and they may only need to, and it's still good, you know, but those like long enduring ones tend to hit all 5 of them. And I've seen a couple of permutations of it. I was trying to find master. I don't know where I saw master from, but they added an E. I could not remember what it was for, but it was one of the variations. And honestly, I looked everywhere for it, and I'm trying to remember where even I saw it. But SMART goals, if you Google it, you'll find a ton of information on it.
I have chaotic brain. The way I set anything in my life is always, do happy chemicals get produced? Yeah, I live a very chaotic mindset, and not because I want to, because that's just the way that my brain is wired. And acronyms, when you give me an acronym, my brain immediately hates it.
Wait.
Yeah,
You hate AA?
I love Audible Anomaly. I hate AA. Anyways, no, I live a chaotic brained lifestyle. So it's hard for me to grasp something like SMART and carry it through, because my brain immediately tells me, ooh, dum-dum, don't do that. Not because it's a bad system, but because I just, as the person that I am, I can't follow something like that. I'm not great with structure. I have ADHD, and I feel like I suffer from it a lot. And I know specifically with something like ADHD, structure is great. It's easy to follow. You know your next step. You should be able to continue forward without losing focus, or without getting sucked into the hyper-focus hole that ADHD can produce. I just can't, though. I have to live this life of complete non-structure. So when I come up with my goals, it very much is just either the goals are nonsensical and achievable, or it's because I know that however long down the line, my brain will go, good job, dummy. It's a terrible way to live, and I don't advise it for anybody, but it's just the way that my brain works. Because I know with the problem a lot of the times with a lot of those like structured things is that not everyone can follow them, because we're so wired differently. It's insane. I mean, I think that, the three of us grew up in the same area, around the same things. We have the same interests, and yet we couldn't be more different in a lot of these things. And I feel like this is a great example of that. I understand SMART and I get it and I want to love it, but I can't.
It's the principle of the thing for you.
It's not even my choice. I don't get to, this is just the my brain is, I've got a blue wire and a red wire connected, in the wrongest way, but it works for me. Like I said in the last episode, right? I told myself this year is my year, and that is the most vague shit you could say, right? It honestly, it should be unobtainable, but my brain justified it as, you did it, good job, right? Because goals for me are more of a mindset than something I have to go and get.
Yeah, I definitely would kind of agree with that, in that, like, at least for me, being able to set a life goal that creates kind of a motivation for me to try and like achieve it, even if it's, nothing specific, or that falls into the SMART category per se, but, just setting something there and just achieving it. Like you said, that releases a good chemical reaction in my head, and yeah, and I think it is kind of interesting that we have these different takes on it, but neither of them are wrong, and no one is right. That much is true.
Well, not for everyone, I would say. Nothing is nothing is universally accepted for every person.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was very informative. That's for sure. Yeah, I'm trying to think of a segue. I can't.
Next question.
But yeah, the last one is, let's say we're in a position where, I don't know, something happens. When is it a good time to consider readjusting life goals? So I feel like I wrestle with this one a lot in that it's like, okay, I want to achieve this, and then something happens. I'm just like, well, that's not going to happen now. Just to give like an example, had the whole thing where had one plan for college, and then that, pandemic kind of hit, and that entire thing got derailed and deviated and turned into another thing. So when are some times when we should reconsider what our life goals are?
That's a tough question. And I don't know if I know the answer. And I think it just comes down to, I have had one dream my whole life. And it's to entertain people. Like, down to the T, that is what it is. And for the longest time, I wanted to do the possibility of cooking for a living. I wanted to do IT work for a living. But at the end of the day, every day, I knew that's not what I wanted. And I've always had the same goal for my whole life, and that's to entertain people. And it's the only thing that I want to do forever. So I've always known in the back of my head that is my goal in life. So even though I've set up these things of, I'll do this for a living, or I'll do that for a living, and those were my life goals, they weren't really. So reconsidering them wasn't really what was happening, because at the end of the day, it was a dream. And so I think if you're sitting there and you're reconsidering a life goal, then maybe it wasn't truly your life goal in the end. Because even if we don't know it, there's something that everyone loves and wants. And you might be in a place in your life that you just don't know what that is. And I think a lot of people suffer from that, especially early on in their college life and their youth and their young adulthood. They don't you don't know what you want. I mean, you had the problem with choosing a major in college. How many did you go through until you found a place that, this is where I want to be? I mean, but in the end, I don't know. I feel like everyone already has a life goal. They just don't know it yet.
I almost feel like that's almost like a instead of a life goal per se, it's more of a life purpose. I feel like
I'm with you there.
Like I said, I don't really do life goals.
You do life purposes.
I do life purposes.
I mean, I was thinking more of like a generalized kind of method of it, of like, when considering to readjust your goals, it's more of like a life event happened, maybe you met someone, maybe a pandemic hits.
Then let me give you this.
Mm-hmm.
When it stops making you happy.
That's a great
That's a great point. Because if an outside source is your cause for changing something, then you shouldn't have changed it. Don't let other things make your choices for you. Period. End of story. When it stops making you happy, if you're not willing to overcome those things, then you failed.
Okay. I mean, I feel like it's a little bit more general than perhaps needs to be. Like, some things can make you happy and change your life goals.
Give me an example.
Like, if you're like, okay,
I have a perfect example.
Go through college, get a degree, and then you meet someone halfway through college and you decide to get married. Maybe you have a kid. Maybe you decide not to finish college. Things happen.
Did college make you happy?
Maybe you thought it did.
So if you stopped being happy when you had the kid, then that's when you reconsider your goal. But if college made you happy and then you had a kid, Why didn't you continue to pursue college? Why didn't you finish it?
Because you have to provide for a kid.
Yeah.
It's a tough thing to overcome.
Who's to say that in that scenario you don't end up going back to college?
Okay, then you complete it. That's fine, but you never changed your life goal in that case, right? The goal in the end was to still finish college, and then you did it later on, so you completed the goal.
Well, you pivoted halfway through. You had a different life goal for a temporary portion of time, and then you readjusted. I'm not talking about end life goals.
No, I know, but I'm saying if a goal is a goal, no matter how long it's prolonged. If you went to college and you had a kid and you had to stop going to college, if your goal is still to finish college, even if it takes 18 years down the line and the kid's out of the house and you can finally do what you want with your time, you waited 18 years to finish your goal, but then you finished your goal. There was no changing of that goal. It was still there. You had different goals along the way. You raise, hopefully, a happy, healthy child that can succeed in life. The goal never changed.
Yeah.
Sure. We'll go with that.
Maybe, maybe it's my chaotic brain. Maybe it's my crazy life.
Perhaps.
I don't know. I have very ethereal thoughts.
Like you're not wrong in that sense. Like I just think your goal at the time was to finish college, and no one wants to, especially in college, no one wants to take longer than the minimum required time. But then that ends up getting derailed a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I did the whole college thing, but it did not make me happy. So it was no longer a goal to try and complete college. I stopped. Just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Right.
You can also reconsider your life goals when you complete them.
Yeah.
It's true.
Overlooking the obvious here.
It's very true.
Yeah, I think I just have I have a different outlook than you guys on what goals are, because I think I'm very philosophical when it comes to goals versus practical. So I think I just wear a different hat in this fight.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. Like I said, kind of goals versus purpose to a degree.
Well, I feel like if your goals aren't going towards your purpose, then you're scoring for the wrong team.
I mean, it doesn't help if you don't know your purpose either.
That is very tough. It's a very hard thing to grasp your head around.
That, I think, is the hardest thing.
Yes.
For sure. That much we can agree on.
But the most important thing, can we agree on that too?
Oh, understanding your life, your purpose?
Just your purpose in general is the most important thing.
My purpose is to spread butter, so,
Hey, you spread that butter. You get that bread.
But it's a bagel. No, yeah. That was not at all where I thought that was going to go, and I'm totally happy it didn't go that way.
Sorry.
That is the purpose of spreading butter. I'm glad that's not my life purpose. I'll tell you what is my life purpose or goal. These that we're about to share. It's the best way I can come up with. So I'm not sure how we want to do this. I think we'll just kind of go through one by one. We'll start with our more immediate kind of short-term goals. Kind of just reflect a little bit and kind of go through that. And then we'll kind of take each level, kind of one at a time. Does that sound good?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right. Who wants to go first?
I kind of already mentioned mine. So I have an engineering degree, which is a great start. But my short-term goal is to get my, what is it called? Engineering training sort of certification. There's a test I need to take for that, and like to pass that by the end of the year. That is my short-term goal. And, sorry, another one. Getting a job in engineering would be great.
Definitely would help. Definitely would help. All right, how about you, Davey?
I don't know how I don't have the next few months, but I do have the next few weeks. And it's simply put, cook more meals, reach out to more people I haven't talked to, and stop thinking so negatively. I've had depression really hit me hard like the last month or two. And so I'm just trying to work of not letting it hit me so hard and start letting the positive thoughts overflow my brain as much as possible. I also need to figure out my living situation because my lease is coming up soon. So whether or not I sign the lease again or find a new apartment, I think that's also important for the next couple months. So maybe that's my next
just
3 months.
A little bit important to figure that one out.
But that's for future Davey to worry about. I'm just kidding.
I'm like, I sure hope you're not.
No, they require a 60 days if I'm going to vacate, so I need to figure that stuff out soon.
Gotcha. There you go. There you go. And for me, I'm also kind of in the same boat as you, Kevin, of getting a certificate. It's not quite an engineering certificate, though. A Google Data Analytics certificate. They finally released the last courses.
Oh, did they? All of them?
Yeah, all of them.
Nice.
So they're all released now. So I can go through that probably within the next week or two here. And then after that, secure a job, ideally in data analytics, but we shall see what the job fairy brings. And that was kind of a more recent goal that I've had. One that I've been kind of postponing for a while because I'm terrified of it, is to cook a brisket. I want to cook a brisket. I've done a lot of smoking of meats, as Davey can attest. I've done pretty much everything I can think of. I've done ribs, I've done pulled pork, I've done beef ribs even, pork belly. I made pseudo burnt ends with pork belly, which are amazing. But I haven't tackled the beast of a brisket. It's one of the hardest cooks in all of barbecue. So I thought one of these days I'm going to attempt to not mess up a brisket. Something I want to kind of achieve. So
That seems like a delicious goal.
Hopefully.
It's a goal that I can get behind. AKA, I'll be there.
all 14 to 16 hours.
Look, as long as I get brisket at the end.
Just have to wait about 2 hours for it to rest after that. It's that's the main reason why I've kind of pushed it off. It's such a process. Not a hard one. Well, can be, but it's just such a process and a marathon, I feel, of a cook. But yeah, I think all of those goals are definitely achievable, for sure. Yeah. And I really do echo your depression kind of negativity vibes, Davey, especially with current situation I find myself in. It's very, very tough to not think negative things. And I tend to do this thing where whenever I get into those modes, I always tend to remember every single failure I've had in life. I don't know why. My brain just does that thing, and I'm just it sucks so much because it's I don't know how to stop it per se. And then I always try, and at least the way I kind of get around that is I end up just thinking, okay, well, I know I have a list of things I need to get done tomorrow, or this week, what can I start, what do I need to do? And so I just start thinking about, okay, what do I need to get done? What do I need to achieve? What do I need, and that's kind of how I end up usually getting myself out of those moments. But yeah, I will kind of go next, and we'll talk about kind of our midterm kind of goals here, roughly within the next year or so, maybe a little bit longer. But for me, it's to kind of regain my health. You know, I think we've all kind of suffered with the quarantine 15. Maybe not you, Kevin. I don't know.
Oh no, me too.
Okay. Okay. It's been a minute since I've seen you, so there's that. For me, it seems more like a quarantine 50, but you know, whatever. I mean, for me, it's always been this thing of like, I've always danced with being overweight. So it's like, I'm not like too worried about like how much like weight I have. Yes, I'd like to be lighter, obviously. But like like I mentioned, I think it was 2 podcasts ago, I was finding myself getting winded just going and taking out the trash. Like that was really where I was like, trying to find something to wear for the whiskey taste test that we did. Nothing really fit. And the shirt barely fit me. And I was just, it's not really a good position to be in, you know? So for one, yes, it is to lose a little weight. It's more of a byproduct, at least the way I see it. For me, it's like doing Ring Fit, doing some more actual proper workouts. I got some bands recently since gyms I still don't trust them and probably won't for a while. So I got some bands so I can start doing some quote unquote lifting. Because I've always enjoyed the idea of the gym and pushing around weights. Like I think the thing that I always struggled with was going from home to the gym. But like once I was at the gym, oh man, it was heaven for me. Like I enjoy it so much. So I know once down the road, if once I find a new place, definitely want to find a garage to set up a home gym, because I think that would be fun. Just pushing around some iron. Like I find there's I don't know. There's something about the what is it, the physiology and the anatomy of weightlifting that I find just fascinating, you know. And yeah, that's something I definitely want to work toward.
Nice. I'll go next. At least for my short-term goal. So we're talking like a year down the line. It's just to grow my brand, you know, I need to be more proactive with growing my personality online and gaining followers. And you know, I originally told myself at the beginning of this year that at the end of the year, I need to have 100 followers on Twitch, or 100 subs on Twitch, I think, or 100 views. Sorry, 100 viewers, concurrent viewers on Twitch. That was my goal. I even wrote down this list because I was watching a streamer, and he was mentioning like if you want to be a top streamer, you have to write down your list of goals on stream. And he gave what are you planning on doing to start a YouTube? What's your start to that? What is your 1 year out? What's your consistency? And then who are you emulating? So I still have this list on my desktop. It's sitting there, and every time I open my computer, I see it every time. And I don't know, my goal is just to be better at building my brand so that my purpose in life can be achieved. Entertain people.
So what are the answers to those questions, if you're willing to
share? Well, the first answer I've already failed. It was to start YouTube content. It was March 1st. I'm way beyond that point. So for me now, it's just as soon as possible, and my brain decides to actually come up with content that I can create. 1 year out was to have 100 concurrent followers. My consistency was to have 1,000 followers. Or 100 concurrent viewers. My consistency was to have 1,000 followers, and that's where I wanted to be, kind of in this area where enough people want to watch me at a time. Even if I don't make any money on it, I want people to come view. And then creators I wanted to emulate. It's pretty simple. Ludwig on stream for like YouTube content. If you're familiar with the sketch comedian Gus Johnson. And then his like ex-roommate and like podcast host Eddie Burback. And then another streamer was Mango. If you're familiar, Smash player, just has fun literally every day on stream. And by God, I don't know who doesn't want that. The amount of fun he just has sitting there.
He's a SoCal boy, isn't he?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he is. It's funny. My roommate describes him as the biggest degenerate on Twitch, and I can't. The biggest degenerate Smash player, and I love that because it's this idea of like, this dude has consistently 5,000 viewers every stream, and he just does whatever the heck he wants. It doesn't matter. He's just there. He's having fun. One day he'll be playing Smash. The other day he's playing CSGO. It does not matter to him. He's just having fun, and I love it.
All right.
That's good stuff.
Kevin?
So my midterm goal next year or two is to really get back into car maintenance, repair, modification. Less so with the car I have now, so also getting a new car. But that was just a fun thing that I had in high school with my dad, so I'd like to get back into that. And have the space for it. So possibly living on my own with a garage.
Ooh.
So you'll have iron of a different form in your garage.
Yes, but I still like to pick things up and put them down.
Hey now. Yeah, I remember I do miss your old car. Not gonna lie. 65?
65.
An original Mustang.
Mm-hmm.
Such a shame. Such a shame what happened to it.
Yep.
But yeah, that's awesome. If you ever need a hand or just need a second set of hands, hit me up.
Will do.
I am so down. Because I feel like, for as much as I love cars, I feel like I need to know more about them. Like, what's in them. Like where do I change the oil? Where do I... No, I'm kidding. I'm not that bad. But I feel like... yeah. I feel like I should know more. For as much as I tout liking cars.
There is one simple resource. I don't know if they still make them, but for older cars, there are what's known as like the Chilton manuals. It's just a brand that created a manual for how to do like everything you would ever need to do to a car for most models of cars.
Okay. Look at that.
I lived and breathed by that thing, man.
Dang. All right. I'll have to look into that. That's awesome. Definitely, I didn't know what to expect. Like, mine's kind of obvious. Davey's, I feel, is kind of obvious. Yours? All right. I dig it.
I feel like I am ticking through goals recently, this past year.
You had the graduation, and then, yeah.
Graduation, more cooking, starting to get back into exercise, so we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Who wants to hit it with them long-term goals?
So mine sucks because it literally is just to be happy. Because I don't know where I'm going to be 5 to 10 years from now. I couldn't tell you that 5 to 10 years ago that this is where I was going to be now, and the things that make me happy now are what make me happy. So I don't know how to answer that question 5 to 10 years down the line. I know that I want to entertain people. So I hope 5 to 10 years down the line, I'm still entertaining people. But everything else, you know, I mean, I'm hoping somewhere down the line that I get married or that I have children. But I also know that there's very real reality that doesn't happen. And for me, I'm kind of setting this expectation of like, well, if it relies on other people, then I don't know. I don't want to think about it. I don't want it to be on my mind because I can only affect me. And yes, the actions that I do will affect other people, but they have their own choices to make. And that is not in line with me, then I shouldn't worry about it. And as much as I want to find love and I'm a hopeless romantic, I do still know that that's a possibility that's never going to happen. And I've reached this point that I'm almost okay with it if it doesn't happen. Would be very sad if it didn't, but I might still be fine. So I just want to be happy.
Being happy is good.
Don't worry.
All right, now for the good goals. You guys go.
Kevin, you want to go?
Sure. So in 5 years, I'd like to have not just my EIT, but my professional engineer license. So it's 2 tests and 2 years in industry, which seems reasonable for 5 years. I'd like to be doing design work, which would be fun. Yeah, that's all I have for 5 years.
That'd be good. That'd be good.
How about yourself?
For myself, I would like to learn a new language. I flirted with the idea of like wanting to learn a new language for a while. Kind of just, I tried learning French in high school. Didn't quite go as well because I realized I'm never going to use it.
That same problem.
Yeah. J'aime le fromage is about all I can get.
I also like cheese.
That's good. So, yeah, learning a new language would definitely be good. And I have a good excuse to learn German. Not that it isn't necessarily a language I would like. Of the languages, I think the one that I would want to learn the most is probably Portuguese or Brazilian Portuguese. Just because I like, obviously I know Spanish as well already. And it kind of dances that fine line of Spanish and French. And I like the flow of it quite a bit. And just the subtle variances of the tones. It feels like it very much feels like a carnival of like a dancing language, you know, like, you know, but I have an incentive to an extent to learn German because, my father-in-law is half Mexican, half German. And his grandmother, or his mother, and mother's side of the family, are German. So if I would learn German, it would mean we could easily move to Germany, and be able to either live with relatives over there or just live in Germany because they seem like a very... as much as I love the UK, and I think eventually we'll probably end up either in the Pacific Northwest or the UK, Germany, I feel like it is another one where me and the wifey, at least me for sure, because I feel like they're very prim and proper and like by the book, and that seems to be me to an extent. So it's like I feel like I would identify very much and understand like that way of thinking. But yeah, I just wanted to challenge myself to learn a new language. Coincidentally, that's also one of my short-term goals, learn a new language, except that'd be either R or Python for data analytics, but beside the point. I'm gonna call our shot here for 5 to 10 years. If we're still doing this podcast, my long-term goal for the podcast here, and this is totally, I didn't ask you guys to come up with one, and if you want to share one, that's fine. But my shot here is to have one of, I guess technically 3, but one of them's a duo. One of 2 potential guests. Either Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I want him to share, and I know you're laughing, Davey, but I want him to share, and I want to talk about his $7 story.
Oh, see, I was more interested in finding out what he was cooking.
See, that's the thing. He was never actually cooking anything.
But he probably will be then.
It was just smelling. It just he smelled a little funky.
Mm.
I have the actual answer, but I feel like I can't say that on podcast. We'll put it that way. I'll explain later.
Please.
But no, I wanted to show that the $7 story and kind of go more into depth on that. And if you haven't seen that around, I believe he did a symposium with the Lakers where he goes into real depth. It's like a 20-minute thing. It's such an interesting story, and I don't want to spoil it because let's be honest, I am nowhere near as charismatic as that guy. So I'm not going to try and do justice that story. But he's definitely one that I'd love to have on this, and I think he would have an insane amount of wisdom to share in line with what our brand and our goals are. The second kind of guests, the duo that I would love to have on this is a little someone you may have heard from YouTube called Rhett and Link. I feel like they are very much, again, along the same lines of like what we kind of aspire to, of like just spreading love and joy and just entertaining and just all around good guys. And I absolutely admire everything that they do. And I really, really think being able to talk to them in depth, because they have an insane story themselves, I think that would be another awesome story to have on the podcast. But that's my shot. Calling my shot for the long-term goals of Audible Anomaly. You guys have any?
Those are some good ones.
I mean, if we're talking guests, I don't know. I would love to have one of the McElboys. If you're not familiar with the podcasting trio of the McElroy brothers, I think they're wonderful people, and any one of them would be wonderful just to interview and talk to and podcast with. I also would love to interview anyone who is relatively famous and make the very concerted effort to not ask any pointed questions towards anything in their career. I would just love to ask famous people, hey, how was your day? What are you up to lately? And that's it. And only talk about like general day-to-day stuff with them. I don't know. I would love to do that. I would love to have an interview on this podcast where it is very much just like, hey, how do you as a person feel about this?
Yeah, I very much want to like stay away from like, so good mythical morning. Like, sure, I'm a fan, but like I really just want to like to get to know them,
Right.
rather than like and their psyche and the stuff that they've had to deal with. Because let's be honest, sure, we all go through stuff, but they go through stuff in public sometimes, and it's I mean, I can only imagine, it's like, Rocky when he got to start in, The Rock when he got to start in wrestling at WWE, I believe F at the time, he's getting a chance of die Rocky die, and it's just so not, it's just crazy to see that, like, how they're able to turn it around and like what their mindset is and that stuff. And like, I just think they have so much to give in that regard, and, overcoming adversity and stuff, and focusing on being positive. And, I think that's just an awesome thing in general. That's why I picked those two specifically, because I feel like they have had to overcome quite a bit. I just thought they'd be, and just overall good guests to have. They're both charismatic and funny as heck, on top of everything else. But yeah, we don't have anything else on that, Kevin. No. All right.
I got nothing.
All right, let's get into some audience responses here. We'll kind of fly through these a little bit because a lot of you just shared your goals, and a lot of them are very similar. Nothing wrong with that. So it looks like we have the same motley crew from last week that replied. And if you haven't replied or didn't know you could reply and potentially be on the podcast, hit us up on the socials. You can also send us an email at audibleanomaly@gmail.com to get your responses in. Every week we try and ahead of time send out a little social media blast to try and get that week's theme so that you guys can chime in and give us your 2 cents and give us some questions that we can answer. So with that said, let's get into the first one. We have at JavBuff, short-term goal. It's kind of just continuing to work and save up money. Nothing wrong with that, honestly. Such a solid goal. I mean, what was it? What was the statistic of? It was like, if you have no debt and $20 in your pocket, you're like more wealthy than like half of America or something like that. Half of America,
I believe it.
Something like that. You know, so it's like nothing wrong with paying out your debts and just having some money on, some saved up money. You know,
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
the majority of Americans can't afford a $500 emergency expense or something like that.
Yeah, I want to say you're thinking of something from Kamala Harris where she said in the presidential or vice presidential election run-up, set of tires cost about $400, which is the same amount that the average family in America has saved up. So a $400 pair of tires could be bankrupting.
Everything.
Yeah. I feel like I got it from somewhere else, but I do remember that as well.
Okay. That's the only one I've heard. But I do remember hearing the $20 and no debt thing.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
I want to say it was somewhere in my macro class that I heard that.
That makes sense.
Right. And then his midterm goals for JavBuff. Once he saves up that money, I guess he's going to go visit his family in Colombia. And hopefully, start looking for either a better job, either move up, or if need be, a career change. So, those are tough. Those are tough. I'm not talking about Colombia. I'm talking about career change. It is one of those where, like I said, there's a whole podcast episode that I do want to dedicate toward like education and like career changes and all that stuff, because it's something that I know I dealt with a lot, and I think all of us here kind of dabbled a little bit of like trying to figure out where we wanted to really lie to an extent.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty good goals there, Jeff. Next we have at the photographer, good buddy, short term, again, save some money, but also apparently he's going wild turkey hunting in 3 weeks. So that'll be exciting. Get some wild turkey. And I don't mean the bourbon. So that's fun. But his money, I kind of know where it's going toward, just because his mid and long-term goals are a bit more telling. Midterm, it's buy a new house with a girlfriend. And that's assuming the prices of homes comes down. Which, especially I was reading lately, probably not going to happen. Hate to be the bearer of bad news on that one. Apparently, the statistic that came out, I believe on Thursday or Friday, is that the U.S. is approximately short 3.8 million homes.
Ooh.
That all stem from the 2008 housing bubble. 2008-2009 housing bubble. What ended up happening was, because of that insecurity, a lot of firms and funds did not want to invest as much into construction of homes. And over time, that has led to the housing shortage that we're finding ourselves in. And then you obviously have the risk of inflation due to a lot of the heavy stimulus that was issued recently in the U.S. at least. Could be different in other areas, since I know we do have a viewer from France, or a listener from France. So
Interesting.
to you, hello. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, I want to say it was Thursday that I read that. So it's like, well, that's not great. But yeah, hopefully things work out for the better. You know, just got to be persistent on it, and I'm sure you'll find something. But long-term goal for a photographer is to hopefully get married and start a family. Good for you. Good for that. Good for him. Very, very good. So that was photographer. Moving on. At Aspiring Fate. I couldn't get any mid or long-term goals from him. And part of that is due to his short-term goal. When I asked him first, it was to purchase a truck. Yet he ended up buying the truck and picking it up on Thursday. So really kind of his was figuring out, what upgrades to add to the truck and just enjoying having his new truck. It's a nice truck. It's a big boy.
Yeah. It's fun.
Big boy. So it's great. That's great. I know, oh man, who was it? I think it was Buff who also, photographer who was saying buy a truck last week, I believe, that fits his lifestyle. I think it was him. It was either him or Jeff Buff.
I think it was photographer.
I think it was. I want to say it was. But yeah, that's pretty good. We have at Jeezy Crazy, mid to long-term goal here. I'd love to get back into the ring and wrestle again. This past year has put that plan on hold just because it's pretty hard to really do any training or anything with wrestling being a predominantly physical sport. Or form of entertainment, however you want to see it.
A bit of both.
Definitely a bit of both. Are they athletes? 100%. Like, no doubt.
All sport is for entertainment. I mean,
that's a good point.
Very, very true. Very true. Yeah, so like I still feel like I'd be okay if I stayed in the indies and not per se make it. Then again, really in the wrestling business, what is making it? I mean, entering one of the big companies, like that's not a guarantee per se. But pretty much as long as I can wrestle, that's all I need. So honestly, I think I'd have to throw in one of my mid to long-term goals there is being able to see him in a ring. That'd be fun. That'd be fun to see.
That would be fun.
That definitely would be awesome. He did throw in another midterm goal. This is specifically for you guys, actually. His midterm goal is to download all of 2000.
I don't remember where that's from, but I did get a laugh out of that.
I guess I don't understand it at all.
It's okay. We'll move on. I'll explain later.
Okay.
And we have our last one from our buddy Kelly. She said short term is to, find a stable job and become more financially responsible. I mean, in a time when you have so much uncertainty and no one really knows what's going to happen, as hopefully we're seeing the return to normalcy pretty soon here. But I mean, no one really knows for sure. That's just hinting at it. Being more financially responsible, saving up money, is definitely the best thing to do right now, just because you never know what's going to happen. So yeah, good on you for that. The mid to long term goal is to save up for a house with her fiance, recently engaged as well. So congrats. That's awesome. She does have a question for us. What, if anything, will you need in order to achieve your goals that we mentioned earlier today? And if you're anything like me, I know Kevin, because we have kind of similar goals, other than the resources we need, not much else. Like I don't I don't know if I need per se any help. Or like anything.
It's mostly like I need to dedicate myself to this. I need to keep better track of these things. But one thing that my dad always got on me about with my goals was bringing someone into the loop on your goals so they can hold you responsible for them. Like with my roommate who's trying to get more into, funny enough, cooking better meals and working out more. I get to play a bit of a jerk to him when I see him eating unhealthy snacks or just lazing about all day. Just having someone there to keep pushing you in the right direction.
Keep you accountable.
Always helpful. Mm-hmm.
Very, very, very true. What about you, Davey?
Drive and persistence. I just need to start waking up and doing things. I feel like everyone struggles with the moment of getting out of bed, but I just need to be a better human, and I need to put more drive in my brain to do the things that I hate doing but are necessary to be a better person. Or even the things I love doing. But I just, and maybe it's the whole depression thing, but to have zero drive when it comes down to do it, I just need more of it. Buckets full of it.
Motivation for sure. I think that's something that we can all kind of relate with on any of our goals, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for this episode.
Ooh.
Just to do the little wrap up thing, you can go ahead and follow us on social media at Audible Anomaly. You can always hit us up with that email at audibleanomaly@gmail.com. You can find our archives on the YouTubes, the old stuff that was nothing but somewhat, but not really like this. If you just want to get a kick at young us, frankly, 'cause let's be real, we look diff. Very. But yeah, next week we got pretty good episode. I think they're all pretty good, to be fair, so that might just be my bias kind of kicking in. But what are the best pieces of advice that you have ever received? That's what we'll be talking about. So don't want to miss that one. I know I have a couple bangers in there. That should be pretty fun. So with that being said, we have been Audible Anomaly, and we hope everyone out there, we hope you're staying safe. And remember, we love you because you're awesome. So, bye everyone.